Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to begin with the administrative announcements. The event is recorded, so please mute your microphones when you are not speaking. Please turn on your videos and have a full name showing so our presenters can see their audience. There will be some people in the audience also who scroll and they want to know who people are. Rules of engagement for the panel will be explained prior to the first panelist starting their remarks. Help facilitate connections by providing your name and point of contact information in the public chat channel. Include what you offer or seek from the Purple Connection community. The chat will be saved before the end of the meeting, cleaned up, and then shared to all attendees in an email tomorrow. All event respondents will receive a link to the recorded program in a few days. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and begin the program now. David, go ahead and bring up slides. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Emma Toops. I'm the Executive Director for American Warriors and facilitator for the Purple Connection. This event is hosted and sponsored by Toops Consulting, LLC. David and I are connectors, coaches, and consultants in Toops Consulting, and we thank you very much for being here. Welcome, especially to those who this is your first Purple Connection. For our new attendees, thank the person who invited you. They felt you might benefit or contribute by being a part of this community. To our regulars, it's good to see you again. Next slide. Here is the event agenda. First, I'll introduce everyone to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. And then we'll do the the educational networking program, followed with the transition tip. I'll talk a little bit about getting more involved, potentially by becoming an American Warrior, and wrap up with some next month lineup and some future events. Next. Okay, so first, an introduction to American Warriors and the Purple Connection. American Warriors is a special interest group of the ACA Business Club. It's a private club with the philosophy that business flows out of relationships. People will do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So members of the club are committed to creating solid connections by learning and practicing the fundamentals of strategic networking and relationship building. American Warriors are club members who have an affinity with or support those who have served our country in military or public service. The mission statement for American Warriors is to provide educational and networking opportunities to veterans who are leaders in business, and we support the transition of active duty service members into private and public sector business. The Purple Connection is one vehicle for American Warriors to fulfill its mission. Next slide. Someone's got to mute, needs to mute a mic. David, please mute whoever that is. The challenges of transitioning from the military is a very well-researched problem. It's evident by the multitude of military support nonprofits and community organizations that provide services to address them. Driving Community Impact was a white paper published in April 2015 by the IVMF of Syracuse University. They determined after several years of research and thousands of surveys that the leading gap in services was not the lack of them, but actually the lack of connectedness of them. Very often, transitioning military feel a loss of purpose, feel isolated or misunderstood, or they feel overwhelmed for their need of help, but are disconnected or lack affinity to the people and culture of their new environment. Next slide. So how do you solve it? You create a partnership of stakeholders who have a common goal for supporting American Warriors. The Purple Connection is a community of partner stakeholders with a common focus of service, support, and care so that we can effectively address the challenges of transition. Next slide. So what's up with the name? There's actually two reasons for it. In military jargon, the color for joint is purple. When our military is operating overseas on a deployment, that environment is comprised of a multitude of seemingly disparate entities with differing purposes, but they have a common purpose through the operation that unites and focuses their effort. TPC is an attempt to replicate this type of joint environment to support the American warrior in transition. Another reason is that when you combine the colors of red and blue, you get purple. In TPC, we're facilitating the connection of individuals who identify more closely to either the military community or the military support and business community. And when they come together, it's a purple connection. Next slide. Here are TPC's vision and mission. We create awareness to enable access and then empower action through collaboration and encouragement to expedite reintegration, support growth and healing, and enable opportunities. We do this by regularly bringing together community experts and facilitate connections through educational networking. Next. Next slide, please. Here's the rules of engagement for our panel program and networking. Each participant will have 8 minutes to deliver their remarks. There will be a timer. The time can be stopped short and given back for Q&A or used up entirely by the panelist. However, when the timer goes off, wrap up the sentence and we'll move on to the next presenter. Once each panelist has spoken, there'll be 15 minutes for Q&A. If you are uncomfortable with public speaking or want to remain anonymous with your question, you can private chat your question to me and I will ask it for you. Please be succinct in your questions and direct them to a specific panelist or to the community if it is a more general question. If you have a complicated question, you may ask it to discover if there is a subject matter expert on the call. But if a response takes longer than 2 minutes to address it, I will recommend that follow-up be done after the event. After the Q&A, there'll be 8 minutes for a transition tip, which is an educational presentation for a paradigm, process, a resource that applies to transition. After the transition tip, if you haven't already, share in the public chat your point of contact information, how you serve or need support from the community. As I stated earlier in the admin information, the chat will be saved and all attendees will get a cleaned up copy in a future email so you can follow up with each other as you like. I will do event announcements and then wrap up the event. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. First up is our veteran entrepreneur. Mike Symanski is a retired U.S. Army Major General and the CEO of Parade Rest, a custom woodworking business that specializes in weapon display racks. Mike, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, you are up.
All right. Thank you, Emma. Most of my career in the military has been in the Army Reserve, but I have had no civilian career since 2001 when the Army took over my life. And I finally retired in late 2007 from the Army while on active duty in the Pentagon on the Army staff. After that, I went to Afghanistan for a year and a half where I made an awful lot of money as an expat contractor. But the life of the expat was not for me, and I came home because the money just wasn't worth it. I had a fixed income, have a fixed income, in fact, so I don't require an additional big income, although I am mentally prepared to take over the world if the opportunity presents itself. So at that point, I asked myself, what do I want to do? What can I do? And what will I do? And I realized that I did have a passion for history, and I do have, which caused me to collect antique weapons. So I thought I would go in that direction. So then I wondered, what assets do I have to devote to this? What are my talent my tools, and my time. And time would include training and experience. So my skill sets, as I figured them out, included business experience. I've been a business owner for many years. I'm familiar with company and corporate management. I know financial management, and I also know how important it is to be debt-free in a business. I have a good knowledge, in fact, a very good knowledge of production manufacturing. I also had woodworking tools on hand. I had the space at home at no extra cost to myself. And I had no need to borrow cash to get started in something like this. And I have always operated on ready cash since. So I did some market research. What do the people in the antique field, antique world need, and what do they want? Now, these are not your Yahoo gun nutters. These are people who have possessions that they are proud of and they want to show off. So I determined that the answer to all of this was displays, furniture for curated collections. I did some online research to find out what kind of display furnishings were already available. I went to some high-end antique arms shows in places like Las Vegas to see what they had. And then and since, I have solicited continual feedback from my customers. It's important in any business to have research and development because if you snooze, you lose your place in the market. You have to have continual product improvement for sales growth. So I knew that I had to not only establish a niche in that market, but I had to continually penetrate new markets. Right now, I have a worldwide reach through Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and my own website. But I continually try to widen that with new products. And I test a lot of new products and I test a lot of materials and designs to see which ones will fly. Most do not, but some do. And that's the way I built the Parade Rest business. And by the way, I want to stress the value of the ACA Business Club that Emma has previously mentioned. It gave me a group assignment to write a business plan for Parade Rest, which really organized my thinking. And I benefited from that greatly. So right now, after several years into this, I am enjoying success. It brings in money. It gives me an outlet for creativity. It allows me to problem solve in engineering because the challenge in production manufacturing is always to make the product better and to make it faster. Because the quality of my product secures my place in the market and makes it grow, and faster production of those products produces the profit. I have continual improvement of my production process since the beginnings with some rather simple tools, and I am currently going through my second upgrade of computer assistant design and computer assistant manufacturing. Scalable? Right now it's supplemental income and not quite ready for Warren Buffett to give me a phone call. But theoretically, this can be expanded to satisfy any new market I get exposed to because I do have the skills to expand production manufacturing to do that. And the important thing in any kind of expansion is to get the order before you run out and try to secure financing. So Emma, that is Parade Rest displays in a nutshell, and I turn it back to you. Over.
All right. Thank you so much. You did that in record time. You had over 3 minutes left. So let's ask if there is anyone who has a specific question for Mike.
Hey, this is Phil Wight. I have a quick question. So I've got some old I like Civil War rifles and swords that I'm displaying very poorly on my wall. So if I'm in St. Louis and you're wherever you're at, is that something we could just talk over the phone and you can do an order for me, or how would that work?
Well, certainly. After I am finished with my presentation, I'll put my contact information into the chat room. And you can contact me either through email or by phone, and we can discuss what your needs are, Phil, and we'll get to work on it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's a great bit of detail as far as you do wall hanging mounts as well as on a mantle or a table like the pictures show.
That's right. I started with mantles, and in fact, the vision of parade rest displays is a parade rest on every mantle. But we also do wall displays, both horizontal and vertical. And we often do specials as well, because at these shows in Las Vegas and Denver and other places where I do exhibit, I find a lot of need for specials. And you may not know it, but at these high-end arms shows, it's competitive. There are people who enter competitions for the most outstanding display, and they're willing to put a lot of money into it. And I'm at the high end of this market, and I will put together something for them to win their competitions.
Any other questions for Mike? He still has a minute left on his time.
Hey, Mike. This is Brock. Appreciate your presentation there. I had a quick question for you. When you said you did market research and all that, how did you kind of go about that to kind of determine, what, how to pursue what you wanted to do there?
Well, the easiest way is go online, of course, nowadays. And I just Googled in weapons display stands, gun display stands, sword display stands, and saw what was out there. There is actually a lot out there, but none of it is really like mine. And it's because I developed a product that no one else duplicated. And it is at the high end. You can buy a pistol display stand for as little as, I think, $12. But I charge, I think, $103 for the pistol stand plus the freight. And I make sure it fits. So I communicate a lot with my customers to make sure we get something that will work for whatever it is they want to display the first time.
Great, appreciate it.
All right, that is 8 minutes. And I will introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Mike. Next slide. Next is our military support nonprofit. Bill Eckert is one of the founders of KAMO Adventures and is a business professional in the financial services industry. Are you there, Bill?
I'm here.
All right,
Hey.
you are up.
All right, so KAMO Adventures, the beginnings of that was 12 years ago. Myself and 3 of my friends leased 1,000 acres and a house down around Nevada, Missouri, where we could hunt on private land year round for a safe place for us and for our family. And then the following year, one of my friends asked if he could host 4 pretty severely wounded disabled veterans recently back from conflict. And they actually flew in from Texas, and they flew in November, and it happened to be a very cold November, and they were wearing shorts and t-shirts. And so when we picked them up at the airport, we took them to Cabela's, we bought them clothes, we took them down to our land and the cabin. And from Thursday through Sunday, we got to spend the entire time with them, making great meals, taking them out, deer hunting, and we just had a wonderful time. And they had a wonderful time, and it was life-changing. And so that's how KAMO Adventures got started. We want to serve our local veterans and active military here in Kansas City. So KAMO is like camouflage, but it means Kansas and Missouri. And since the Civil War, Kansas and Missouri has been fighting one another, and now we're bringing them together. And we do 3 things. Number 1 is we do hunting and fishing trips. Number 2 is we have scholarships at KU and UMKC. And number 3, we help them get meaningful, gainful employment. So a little bit about the hunting trips. Every April we have a turkey hunt, and all of our hunts are customized for the veteran and their situation, because we've had blind veterans actually shoot live turkeys with the help of a very skilled guide and an eye scope planted on the top of a shotgun, which is unusual. We've had a lot of amputees, burn victims. We're wheelchair accessible. So we will talk with them pretty extensively to customize so they have a world-class weekend. And when we do a turkey hunt, we typically have anywhere from 4 to 6 veterans hunting. But then each veteran is coordinated with a guide, a professional guide, and all the hunts are 100% paid for. We pay for all of those. We even had the 160th Night Stalkers active military come down, and we had to keep that completely private. We couldn't put anything on Facebook. We couldn't announce it for their protection. Every September, we do a fishing trip. Usually we have 6 veterans, but 2 years ago, we took a lot of veterans from St. Michael's Veterans Center in Kansas City, and we hosted 12. And we have professional fishing guides that provide the gear and the boats and everything for them. The game wardens actually come over and put a fish fry on for us because we have a great relationship with our conservation agents. The deer hunt is in November. That's usually 4 to 5 veterans. And every hunt that we do is really special and unique and creates a lot of memories. But one specific deer hunt, we had a father who was a Vietnam veteran, and we had his 2 sons who were Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. And it was when the father was very ill with cancer, and he wanted to have he's never been hunting with both his boys at the same time. So that was something that we hosted for them and before he passed away, and it was very special, meaningful for all of them, for the family. So again, we provide the guides, the food, the transportation. We do the deer processing for them. Everybody goes home with venison. We have taxidermy services, clothing, firearms, ammo, the whole thing. And then obviously we have scholarships at KU and UMKC. We funded those scholarships last year during COVID, and we're funding them again this year. Those scholarships are for the veterans and also family members of our fallen veterans. They're administered by UMKC and KU. And then lastly, we have meaningful gainful employment. And we've got a network of over 2,000 people on our email list. So when I run across a veteran who's unemployed or underemployed, I'll spend a good amount of time with him interviewing him or her and put together a story and send that out through our network. And that leads to connection. Those connections had led to a lot of nice employment, nice careers for them. Now, last year we couldn't do any hunts because of COVID. So we decided to pivot. We wanted to serve our veteran community. And our pivoting was through our relationships with our board members who are veterans and AUSA. We were able to get a hold of truckloads of supplies, water, food, sanitizer, masks, wipes, diapers, books, etc. And we were able to coordinate the logistics of transportation of those needed supplies at that time to the St. Michael's Veterans Center. We went to Fort Campbell, I think twice, Fort Bragg, Fort Leavenworth, Heroes Home Gate of Kansas City, Home Faith, Homeless Veterans Assistance Program, and even the local community where we have our KAMO ranch. If we were to add up the retail value of those supplies that were needed that we helped deliver to them, it was over $1.2 million. I think it actually might be somewhere around $1.4 million. So that was really exciting. We've got a turkey hunt the end of April that I'm looking forward to attending. All of our guides are just, they're just wanting to get back out there with our veteran friends. A lot of times the veterans will come on one hunt and then they'll come on the other 2. So they might do a turkey hunt and then maybe the next year they might do a fishing trip or a deer hunt. We keep in close contact with them. And then one of the most special things about KAMO is, as a nonprofit 501c3 organization, It's all volunteer. There's no one on the payroll. There's no payroll expenses. There's no rent. There's no overhead expenses. Our expenses on non-veteran items are like some insurance and something else. I think it's less than $2,000 a year. It's nothing. So our supporters, our donors know that, 100%, 98% of what they give us goes to the veterans. It goes to the scholarships. It goes to helping them get meaningful gainful employment. That's my timer. And it helps with, the hunting and fishing trips. So thanks for having me on. Look forward to hopefully meeting some of you someday soon.
All right, very good. I'm not exactly sure what I'm seeing on my screen. I must have did something because I now have myself and there it is. Okay. Next slide is for our military friendly corporate. Is the slide showing for everyone? Because I don't see it.
It's showing.
Okay. Yeah. Somehow I did something. I don't see it. All right. So our next presenter is Monte Comer. He is a retired sergeant major and now a corporate recruiter for Olin-Winchester. There's somebody who needs to get muted. He's now a corporate recruiter for Olin-Winchester, who currently has the contract for operating the Lake City ammo plant. Monte, are you on?
Can you hear me, Emma?
That's right. Monte had given me a heads up that he is unable to be on video because he is at the ammo plant. So he is on the call and speaking just audio. All right, go ahead, Monte, you're up.
Thank you, Emma. Hey, everybody. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk to you a little bit. As she said, I was in military recruiting, and kind of strange when you're on that side of the fence. Not many people want to answer the phone, or they want to, mom, dad will hang up on you when you call. Now I'm in corporate recruiting. Seems like everybody wants to talk to me. But what we do is I'm with Olin-Winchester, and our business is producing ammunition. Winchester has 3 facilities. We have in East Alton, Illinois, our shot shell, where we produce all of our shotgun shells. Oxford, Mississippi, we produce a lot of small arms ammo there, commercial sales. And then I'm here at what's called Lake City Army Ammunition Plant. It's in Independence, Missouri. It's a suburb of Kansas City. Now, the difference in this plant and the other 2 is that this is a U.S. Army installation. It's got over 4,000 acres, and the Army basically hires a company such as Winchester to come in and produce their ammunition for them. And right now we produce 3 types of small arms: the 5.56, the 7.62, and the 50 cal. We can produce ammunition, for sale in the commercial world as well, if we're not running military ammunition here. But with it being the military installation, when they hire Winchester, what's unique about it, not only are we responsible for building the ammunition, we have to maintain this entire plant. And I say that because that opens lots of opportunities for individuals, not only in the manufacturing world, but in the maintenance world and all the other supporting elements. Right now, we're doing about 1.5 billion rounds of ammunition a year here at Lake City. And everything we make is from scratch. Nothing comes in pre-made. So you can imagine along that line the amount of support personnel it takes to function this place. And a lot of those skills that we require, I think military people already have. We have positions in management, supply chain, finance, HR, you name it, we have it. And one thing that I wanted to kind of point out to everybody is that in my previous world before Winchester, I worked for a big government contractor doing recruiting. And I noticed that a lot of companies are always looking for the senior NCO or the field grade officer. And I understand that's because of military education stuff. But one thing that's nice, I think, about Winchester is we'll take anything, and I won't say anything, but we'll work with E4s and above, because we've got hourly positions and we've got salaried positions. So I get a lot of youngsters coming in that are recently off active duty, E4, E5 types that we hire into the manufacturing world, working out here in our factories and stuff. And in the factory, we have over 100 different hourly positions. So a young man or young lady can come here and pursue a career, not just a job. And some of them may not want to go on to college or have not, but they can come here and get into things like pipe fitting, electricians, HVAC repair. We've got all kinds of jobs that covers it from the lowest end to the top. I mean, one day I may be recruiting a chemist, and tomorrow I'm recruiting ammunition packers. So it's a unique opportunity for someone. And the company, one thing I do like about them very much is, of course, we're very military friendly. They offer tuition assistance, which most of our veterans coming in already have that. But it's a good way for people, once they get in here, to even work outside their comfort zone and go on and go to school, which I try to encourage them to do. Now, being in manufacturing, we run 24 hours a day here. So we recruit to all different kinds of shifts for all the different positions. So if a soldier comes in and they need to go to school Monday through Thursday, I can put them on a weekend shift or something. So we're shift friendly. Most of our plants are that way, and they're always looking for good quality people. Now, soldiers, of course, they don't need to tell me, but I like getting soldiers because they are quality people. I generally know what I'm getting when I interview a veteran. That's a skill set that we're looking for. We like the leadership. We like the discipline. Generally, they're drug-free. Generally, they show up for work when they're supposed to be. And that seems to be becoming a bigger issue every day, is get people to come to work on time. But it is a great opportunity. Some of the career fields, like I said, because we have what's called exempt positions, which are your management positions. Everything from a supervisor in the factory all the way up to the plant director, the plant vice president. And we do other projects for the military. We work on designing new rounds of ammunition or new techniques with the ammunition with the Army to keep up with the demands of the military. It is called an Army plant, but obviously we make the ammunition. It's for all the different branches of service. So yeah, we're purple. We deliver to every branch of the U.S. military. Like I said, he's been here since 1940. The buildings are old. If you ever get a chance to come out and see it, it looks like you're back on an old Army base in the 1950s and 60s, but it's got a lot of history to it. And we've been pumping out ammunition since 1941. It's kind of a unique place to work in the fact that, like me, if I ever get real bored or real discouraged, I just walk over to ballistics and pop off a few 50 cal rounds, kind of brightens my day up a little bit. So it's a fun place to work. And we're trying to connect with the veterans, obviously. We are doing everything we can to help veterans and get them in here and get them going. We do some special things during the year with veterans as well. Benefit to working at Winchester is you can buy ammunition. A couple times a year we have sales and stuff. So they've got little perks with it. It's a great company, one that's very supportive, and it's kind of cool. If you walk in our headquarters in East Alton, Illinois, they've got a life-size statue of John Wayne in there holding a rifle, a Winchester rifle in his hand. So just kind of a neat place to be, a neat place to work, and we're looking to help as many folks as we can. I would close by saying that having been in civilian recruiting now since 2004 when I retired, I sit on this side of the desk and I see a lot of resumes every day and stuff. And if any of you out there are needing help with maybe breaking through that barrier of getting interviews and stuff, I'd be happy to deal with any of you. I think it's a unique perspective I can bring to you as a recruiter in the corporate world that might help you with some things. And the best way to get a hold of me, obviously I'm not on the Zoom meeting, but you can email me at monte.comer@olinlc.com. You can view our jobs at all three plants by just going to winchester.com and click in the careers. And if you're specifically interested in Lake City, you can simply type in www.workatlakecity.com and you'll see some of the different positions. I would encourage you to look at those websites often as they change daily as we're adding positions. But if you see something on there you like, apply, shoot me an email. Say, hey, Monte, I threw my resume in. I'll do my best to, get you to the manager and possibly get an interview and go from there. So, Emma, I think I'm close on my time. I didn't actually set a timer.
Nope, you are just a few seconds over. So it went off on my side. That's okay. It literally just 5 or 10 seconds ago. So very good. Thank you to each of the panelists for your time management. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a stickler for time in the Purple Connection. Okay, so we are now in our Q&A period. And so these questions can be directed specifically to a particular panelist, learn more a little bit about their business or their product or opportunity, or it can be to the community. And if it's a general question or not. So who's got a question for either a panelist or the community?
Question for Mike, since my video popped up. Is your production largely, are your designs CAD created and automated production with CNC machinery? Or is there a lot of?
It is now. Gotta get unmuted. There we are. When I began, I used, your typical bandsaw, router table, that kind of thing. And last summer, I did buy my first CNC machine. And in my experience in manufacturing, I was familiar with CNC to a large degree. And that's changed everything. It allowed me to improve design, it improved quality, and speeded things up tremendously to the point where I am daily awaiting delivery of a machine twice as large, so that I can continue to make things better and faster. But I had to teach myself a little bit about computer-assisted design. I had some background in it, but I learned surprisingly quick, even surprised myself. But again, it improved things a lot. Over.
Thank you.
I have a question for Monte. So Monte, you said that the installation of the Lake City ammo plant, because it's an installation, does it have the same type of restrictions for visits as an actual military installation? You have to get permission to even be on site if you're not an employee?
Yeah, you have to have a reason for coming here. I found it's actually harder to get in than it is like at Fort Leavenworth or something. But yeah, you'll have to be invited in, and then they run an FBI background check on you and stuff, and they'll search your vehicles every time. So it's a little more difficult to get into here than it would be a standard post. But it can be done. And you just got to make sure you're not bringing anything in you're not supposed to be.
Okay. I've been on the installation when I was chapter president to talk with some of the community partner leaders. And so I have been there a couple times, but just those few times when it was, it was a business meeting. I do have another question. Are the jobs, they're posted on your corporate site, not in USA Jobs, as far as it being like a government job?
That's correct, because Winchester's a civilian company, so they would be posted on our sites.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, John Busa has a question about the automation efforts at the Lake City ammo plant. Can you describe skill sets required for the automation on the plant?
So this is John. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, John.
All right. So I've got a couple of engineers. So I work out here at Honeywell FMNT, and we had a couple. I apologize that we've scalped a couple of your engineers to come over on our side. They've all been great additions to the team. But understand that there's been an incredible amount of automation efforts that have gone on out at the Lake City plant, over the last 5 to 10 years. Taking the ammunition production, from 1950s, 60s vintage technology, and bringing it forward to produce modern ammunition. I'm thinking specifically to primer production and like your M855A1 round. Understand that there was a significant amount of effort that went into those product lines. As we're looking at the future workforce, something to consider is a laborer. We're expecting a little bit more from a laborer today. We see that on the FMNT side as well as elsewhere. And so if I'm coaching a vet, whether it's a staff sergeant, sergeant first class, or an officer, what are the skill sets that we can point them on? What are the skill sets that we can point them on to be able to come into that manufacturing community and essentially come in running, not just coming up to speed after 6 months of on the job training.
Yeah, they have done a lot of automation work, and they're still doing that. We've got machinery that was used back in the 50s. Some of it we're still using, some of it is new. What we've got here, without taking a lot of time, is the wage force here is union. So on the hourly side, they have to start out at the ammunition packer level, and then they can move up from there. So mechanical skill sets is real important because we have a lot of machinery. We can give them a written test and a hands-on test that a lot of them take and pass. So any skill set they can have like that's going to benefit them once they get through the 4 months. Now that's on the wage side. On the salaried side, of course, we're probably like Honeywell. We're looking for specific skill sets in whatever field that might be, supply chain or contracts or whatever. So they can come in running. A lot of guys and gals will apply straight into supervisor positions. We like that leadership out on the production line.
Right.
I hope that is.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And then once they get there, they can, move right on up the ladder, so to speak. They obviously, we push education. We want them to get as much education as they can.
So quick follow-up. You hit on the education piece. Does Olin support, or does Olin have a external education program where you send folks out to? I know we do out here at FMNT. We send folks to JCC to go get their PMP, go get a machine certification. Does Olin do something similar?
We don't have one that we sponsor. Now, if they want to, a lot of it they can do here, but if it's something like if they want to go get a certification, say to be a water treatment operator, we have tuition assistants that will help them obtain that ranking, if you will. So yeah, they do have that.
Okay, right on. Hey, thanks so much. Thanks so much for presenting this month.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions for the panel or the community? I have one for Bill. Bill, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, so my question is for the veterans who partake in the hunting and fishing opportunities. Is there an application process, or is it like a direct referral, or how's that work out for those who actually participate?
That's a great question. Yes, there is an application. If they have an interest, they can reach out to us by our phone number in the chat box or the info@kamoadventures.com, and we will send them a data sheet. There's also a data sheet that they can download on our website, and that starts our communication process with them.
All right. Very good. We still have some time left in the Q&A. Okay, George, you have a question? Go ahead.
There we go. My question is for Monte. How do you protect your employees in the plants given the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, what we've done, obviously, we have our own medical here. Safety is very much involved. We required them to wear the 95 mask. We are considered a necessary business, so we've kept running the whole time. But we've got standard protocols in place if somebody does test positive. But right now they do wear masks, and we try to maintain social distance the best we can. Also, we had the Army medical team from Fort Leavenworth came down and gave vaccinations to everybody who wanted them. It was not mandatory. So very cautious about that, and probably doing the same protocols as most people, a lot of hand sanitizer and making sure we wear a mask and socially distancing.
Okay, very good. I have a question for you, Monte, also. So
Okay.
there's these various programs where corporates are kind of partnered with active duty military installations. And I know that the plant is an installation, but like Hire Our Heroes and Skill Bridge programs where in the last 6 to 8 months of a service member's time in service, they're actually working with a corporate in like a fellowship or internship opportunity. Is Olin-Winchester involved in any kind of partnership, skill bridge thing like that?
Yeah, Emma, to answer your question, we obviously Winchester just took over here at Lake City the 1st of October. We are getting ready to enroll into the Skill Bridge program for all 3 of our locations.
Nice.
I'm very familiar with it. In the past here at Lake City, they've used Hiring Our Heroes and stuff. But yeah, we're getting ready to get into that full-fledged. And then I reached out to the Kansas City Vet Coalition Council to try to get us involved in some of those too. So we're still 6 months new on this and trying to get our feet on the ground a little bit, but those are avenues we are going to attack.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have 1 more minute in the Q&A period before we move on to the transition tip. Do we have 1 more question? Okay, well, then let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the agenda. All right. I want to thank everyone who contributed to the conversation and asked a question. And so the next thing up is the transition tip. Today, we've got Phillip Wight, who is an Army veteran, financial services professional, and outdoor rec enthusiast. Today, he's going to be talking about connecting and staying involved with a community through outdoor rec and community activities. Phil, are you there?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Emma.
Yep.
Hey, everyone. Phil Wight, and a U.S. Army veteran, used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes and helicopters. You know, my mom could never figure it out. I was scared of heights and really bad at Spanish, so I jumped out of planes and married a Spanish girl. But it's all about getting over your fears, right? So still, maybe one day I'll jump in the civilian world, but I think God told me there was an end to it back in the day. And I was with a unit called the Moden Gators. So we had gators outside our barracks. In the old days, you used to have to catch a gator, strap it to you like a rucksack in your weapon, and you jump out of the plane with a gator attached to you. And I don't think they could get away with that nowadays. Anyway, so yeah, about transition. I think the biggest thing that's super important is one day as we transition, we wake up and we no longer have a platoon, right? And that's like probably the scariest notion. You know, you're used to the camaraderie, you're used to taking orders, you're used to that fellowship, and then suddenly you're just thrown into the corporate world, right? And so a lot of us, I was up in Fort Lewis and down in Panama, and and no one from my unit is here, right? So you're on your own, and then you join the corporate world, and you just kind of get lost a little bit. Like a lot of people, like they're not involved in veteran activities, they're not involved with other veterans, and it kind of goes by the wayside, which is this kind of rut that we all fall into sometimes. Is we get lost in family, corporate world, and we lose some of those connections that are super important to us. So the first step is just to get involved, right? And it's craziness because sometimes I'll wear a suit like this, and the other time I'll be in blue jeans and cowboy boots and my Patriot Guard jacket, and no one would ever know that I'm a financial planner. And you never know what field that you'll get. But when I'm out of my Patriot Guard jacket, I'll have veterans come up to me and talk to me, and end up sharing their story, which would never happen otherwise. So and the first thing I did, I joined a Jeep group, and I bought a Jeep, and I love Jeeps, and I'm not in my Jeep right now because I'm in a suit. My wife thinks it's silly if I have my top down and doors off and I'm driving in a suit, right? But first thing I did is I joined a Jeep group, fellowship, right? Common interests, things like that. And as I was in my Jeep group, I saw a guy with a Patriot Guard decal on his Jeep. And I'm like, Patriot Guard, like, what is that? And then he told me about, basically helping veterans, wounded police officers, doing funerals and everything else like that. I'm like, how do I join that? I thought there was like a long process or something like that. And it's like, man, you just go to the website and sign up. I'm like, really? And I joined up with Patriot Guard. Then lo and behold, there was like a Gary Sinise Foundation, right? Was making a home for a police officer in my area. I went to, with Patriot Guard, went to Gary Sinise Foundation, saw this incredible display. And I have a big German Shepherd, he's a therapy dog. And he went up there with the kids who were throwing the first, scoops of dirt. And awesome, right? So, and eventually it ran into Full Honor. I think I've got a Full Honor pin on my jacket right now. And again, and then got involved in Full Honor. That popped up that just didn't answer the call. So got in touch with Wayne Kaufman from the Kaufman Fund, which is just a dominant veteran group in St. Louis, helping with PTSD, suicide prevention, families that need assistance and everything else like that, feeding the homeless, feeding poor veterans, giving veterans jobs, right? And then got involved in that, and then got involved more in Full Honor. So right now I'm doing an event at my farm over the summer where we have about 640 acres, and I'm doing something for the Kaufman Fund out at my farm this summer to raise money. And it's so cool. I've got Chuck's Boots getting involved as a sponsor, PBR down in St. Louis as public bull riding, St. Louis, Cyberg's restaurants, and just like Deerberg's, and everybody's answering the call. There are people who are literally hurting on ways to give and to get out and to save money on taxes and everything else like that. They would love to get out. I heard the KAMO guys talking, Missouri Veteran Outdoors, Mo Vets Outdoors. There's literally 2,000 veterans out there, and they have tons of free things that you can do to get outside and fish and hunt and do everything else. It's an awesome group. So yeah, so so suddenly I've got my platoon again, right? And my platoon spans a lot of different areas, but it is a great thing because I know that there's people who I can call on. Like I was just talking to a guy about a Jeep group. I'm like, I know I could post in a Jeep group and there'll be a Jeep show up wherever I need to show up, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing is, and there's a Vietnam veteran. I do Midwest Veteran Chamber of Commerce, and they also do the ACA club along with Emma. But I was at a Midwest Veteran Chamber of Commerce. There's a Vietnam War vet there, and he literally said it was the first time he had ever done anything with veterans, like ever. You're like talking about Vietnam War, right? And I told him it's not about remembering, it's about the camaraderie, and it was awesome. So there's so many good things, so many good stories, so many different things out there. So just getting involved is absolutely huge. And that's my transition tip is to get out of your comfort zone, get out there and engage your fellow veterans on the field, right? I guess that's it.
All right. Very good. I love it. I'm glad you're so involved. We try to do the same here in Kansas City and try to connect all the support that this community has to offer. And so thank you so much for that
Yeah.
transition tip.
No, definitely. And if anyone ever, I put my email and my cell phone in the chat, so feel free to reach out to me if you're in St. Louis. I would love to connect with you. Obviously, I'm a financial planner, so I love helping businesses. And there's just so much good to be done out there. So let's just get it done, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue wrapping up the event with some ways to get involved. So Phillip Wight is a fellow American Warrior Club member in St. Louis. So if you're interested in continuing to participate more intentionally in facilitated conversations like these that we've introduced today, I invite you to consider becoming an American Warrior with the club. Becoming an American Warrior affords you with a lot of benefits. You get access to any of our club facilities wherever they are. So currently the club has 6 club locations. 3 of them are in Greater Kansas City. There's one in Chesterfield, which is where Phillip is, one in Columbia, Missouri, and one in the suburbs of Chicago. But
Hey, Emma, really, can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
And if you're in American Warriors, is that a free membership to the ACA, or do you have to pay separately for it?
When you're a member of the club, you can be a member of the American Warriors and any single one of the 20 plus special interest groups. So access to 20 plus interest groups, which is the second bullet on the slide, that there's a lot of different ways that you can connect when you're a member of the club. You have one membership cost each month as a membership due because it is a private club, but there are over 20 interest groups and multiple ways for you to engage every week, virtually or in person for those clubs that have a facility. So you have access to all of those club organized and sponsored events. You have access to the directory. So you can see where people are if you have friends in other places across the country or even overseas. We do have club members overseas. We're growing locations in places like Italy and Peru. And I think we have someone in Norway. So it is a great opportunity to really expand your network if you're still kind of got a network that is exclusive to military, but also a great opportunity to learn from folks who are not military because they are very supportive. That's part of the club culture is a culture of service and education. So the Purple Connection and Strengths Profile workshops that occur every month, those are things that I do, Troops Consulting, and these can be attended by any member of the club and any guest of a club member. I do these events virtually as well as in person. So those who are local to Kansas City can come actually check out the club facility and meet me. And the American Warriors discussion group is every 4th Thursday. This is our monthly American Warriors meeting. And the facilitated conversation is on some type of educational topic or theme with, transition in mind. Then the various leadership of the club or the American Warriors are my executive committee. So Phillip is our American Warrior leader in St. Louis, and then other locations. Bo Hendricks is on the call as well. He's in Oklahoma. So there's opportunities to plug in leadership roles as well. Next slide. So some future events. The American Warriors discussion group this month is going to be focused on entrepreneurship. That's going to be next week, 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time. You can attend this virtually or in person at the club. Then the Intro to Strengths Profile workshop is every first Thursday. again, you can attend virtually or at the club. And this is a strengths assessment tool that I am a practitioner for. You get an opportunity to get introduced to what is it, and then you can decide to either take it or not as part of the event, because it is a workshop. Then, of course, the third Thursday of every month is the Purple Connection. Next slide. So here is the lineup for next month. Our veteran entrepreneur is going to be Melissa McFarland. She is a military spouse. Her husband is an Army veteran. They are both involved in franchising, and she's going to be speaking regarding her current role with HydroDog. Our community organization is going to be Ryan Scott from VetBiz, which is partnered with the SBA, and he's a startup advisor. Our military-friendly corporate is going to be Megan Stanek, who is a franchise consultant with FranNet. And our transition tip will be provided by David Voderick, who is a U.S. Army retired and is a franchise owner. All right. In a few weeks, some of you are going to receive an invitation for TPC referrals. Next slide. Feel free to contact me for more information and connect with me on LinkedIn. The TPC referrals is an invite-only opportunity to intentionally connect with me and 3 other members of the community. Those who will be eligible for an invitation are those who are actively engaged in the Purple Connection or in the military support community. They're actively networking, looking to grow their network or their business. They're an American warrior or they are in transition. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I hope it was a time well spent for you, and have a good evening. Follow up with everyone as you need. You will get that information in an email as far as the chat channel, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Emma.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.